Hey guys, I'm Darren Miles with Darren Miles Photography, and I'm based here in beautiful, sunny Southwest Florida. And you know what this is? This is a Canon EOSR, a camera I swore I would never buy, but I bought one. And I'm going to give you the top 4 reasons why. Number 1, the Christmas promotion was too good to pass up. I don't know if any of you were paying attention, but both Adorama and B&H Photo had these unbelievable deals on the EOSR. Normally this thing prices out at $2,200, but they had the camera along with the EF or the EF to RF adapter, a 128 gigabyte memory card, a really nice bag from Manfrotto, and a lens cleaning kit, which to me is kind of worthless, but was a nice add-on anyway. All for $1,499. Now, I've used the Canon EOSR before when I reviewed the 85mm RF f1.2, and I really liked it. In fact, I was downright impressed with the overall ergonomic experience of the EOSR. And once I saw that price drop to $1,499 with the adapter, I knew full well that I could take advantage of my existing EF lenses and I would eventually migrate into some more RF lenses because I really loved the RF lenses. But number 1, at the end of the day, $1,499 for that much value was just a little bit too much to pass up. Number 2, the latest version of firmware that Canon came out with for the EOSR finally proved to us that Canon is finally getting on board with doing what a lot of other manufacturers have already been doing for years. For example, if you've ever utilized Fuji or Olympus, then you know those companies update the firmware with very meaningful updates over time. Sometimes these cameras are 2, 3, even 4 years old, and Olympus and Fujifilm are upgrading the firmware and coming out with new and meaningful features on these old cameras. It's a really amazing thing. And a lot of us have been clamoring about that for Canon to do something similar, and they finally did with the latest version of firmware for the EOSR. They gave us eye detect AF and video, combined with the already really good dual pixel and the IAF. Suddenly, Canon's now on a level playing field with Sony. So I'm glad to see that Canon, after all the clamoring and after all of us complaining about it for years, is finally removing, and I'm stealing this from the camera conspiracies guy, removing the cripple hammer from their cameras and finally giving us the features that everybody else has been giving us for years. Number 3, the RF line of lenses. When Canon announced the EOSR, the big hugabaloo or hullabaloo, whatever, was this new mount and the size of the imaging circle. Canon indicated that because of the size of the mount, they could make and engineer some really amazing and innovative lenses. And to date, I don't think they've disappointed. The 28 to 70mm f2, for example, the 50mm 1.2, the 85mm f1.2, etc. These are all well-built, incredible optically, just amazing top-shelf lenses. They focus really quickly, and the experience I had with the 85mm f1.2 at f1.2 was nothing short of sublime. I simply loved that lens. In fact, it was that experience with the EOSR and that lens that made me think I should probably buy the EOSR if it ever goes on sale, and I did. Number 4, a lens adapter that actually works. This is actually very exciting because I have a whole bunch of EF and EFS lenses that I have left over. I still have a 5D Mark III. I'm filming this current video on a Canon C200. I also have a Canon C100 Mark II. And I use them pretty frequently, and I still have a stable of EF and EFS glass that I've had for years. And I'm happy to report that the new RF to, or the EF to RF adapter works seamlessly with both. In fact, right now, I've got the EFS 10 to 18 on here, and it works as if I was shooting on, I can even show you this. It works as if I was shooting on like a 70D or a 70 or one of the crop sensor cameras. You really can't tell the difference. And I'm happy to report that both my 70 to 200 and my 24 to 70 work flawlessly. It's absolutely perfect. I have an adapter for my Sony that I utilize with my Canon lenses, and by and large it works pretty well, but it still has a hard time focusing at the far end. At like 200 millimeters, for example, the MC11, which I utilize on my Sonys, it doesn't seem to be able to capture focus. I don't know why, but it just doesn't work that well. This, because it's native to native or Canon to Canon, seems to work just flawlessly, and I've had an overall amazing experience with the adapter. Those are my top 4 reasons, but I want to give you a couple other minor ergonomic pluses that I really love about the EOSR. Number 1 is this tilty, flippy screen. I'm so glad they did this because if you're a vlogger, this is kind of an essential piece that everybody needs to be an effective vlogger so they can compose and see the shot before they actually take it. Ergonomically speaking, just one word: menus. The menu system from Canon, as everybody knows, is like world renowned. Frankly, I'm just gonna come right out and say it. Sony, you just need to get it over with and just copy Canon's menus. They're really that good and that simple and that intuitive to use. Canon's done this really unique thing where you can actually pick a section of the screen back here, and as you're looking through the viewfinder, I like to use the lower right. The lower right-hand corner here kind of simulates the entire screen for focus. So like the far left of the screen is like here, the far right and bottom of the screen is here, and you actually set that in the AF menu. So when you're looking through the viewfinder and composing your shot, you can use your thumb and slide it around in this tiny little quadrant that represents the whole screen to get focus. It's innovative and brilliant, and it works beautifully. Canon colors, yeah, they're legendary, they're great, they're the prettiest, etc. And the EOSR, frankly, does the same thing. The color science from Canon, in my opinion, is still second to none. And the last thing is the battery. This is the exact same battery that's been around since the 5D Mark II and the 7D. I've got a ton of these things. I have a whole box of them. So when I bought the EOSR, I literally had like 10 batteries for backup. I don't think I'll ever need them, but I have them just in case that I do. So the battery is the same, and I love that. Those are my top 4 reasons and a few other ergonomic pluses as to why I bought an EOSR, or why I was able to justify it, especially at that promotional price over the holidays. But what I want to do right now is I want to give you 3 reasons why you should think twice before you plunk down the cash that it takes to get an EOSR. Number 1, as awesome as the RF lenses are, and they are truly stellar and just sublime and amazing, but they are freaking expensive. I think the cheapest one is the RF 35mm f1.8 macro, and it's about the only one that's really for consumer use, and it's $500. The other ones, any of the L versions, are anywhere from $2,000 to like $2,800 for a lens. That's crazy money, so just keep that in mind. I think Canon's adopted or is thinking about adopting the HP strategy. If any of you out there have bought an HP printer, for example, or really any printer, the whole printer industry, if you buy a printer, printers are actually really cheap, but where the manufacturers get you now is with the ink. So think of the EOSR as like the printer and the lenses like the ink. They are extraordinarily expensive. As great as they are, they're incredibly expensive. Number 2, this sort of dovetails off of number 1, and that is Canon pretty much has a monopoly right now on RF lenses. So if you buy the EOSR, there's really nowhere to go except to Canon directly to get a lens to actually work with this, unless you buy the adapter and you have the old EF line of lenses, which are great, don't get me wrong. But one of the big bonuses of the EOSR is this mount. So ideally, you want to get lenses that take advantage of the mount. And with virtually any or hardly any third-party support right now, I'm pretty sure Samyang Rokinon has like the 14mm f2.8, and Laowa I think has the 15mm or the 18mm, but that's it. I mean, there's literally nothing out there right now. Now on the plus side, Sigma has announced that, or rather will announce, or has announced that they're going to announce what their RF roadmap is coming up in January, and I'm grateful about that because I would love to see some art lenses on the EOSR. Number 3, or in reality, it's really the number 1 reason why I have up until now been so hesitant to buy an EOSR. And if you've been watching my channel, if you've seen some of my previous videos, and this will probably come as no surprise to you, but the number 1 reason is this. The EOSR only has 1 memory card slot. Now, as a wedding professional, that's unacceptable to me. I recognize that a lot of folks feel very differently about this, but I'm just giving you my opinion. If I'm gonna photograph a wedding, I need to have redundancy. I'm just not willing to take that chance. In fact, just to kind of further illustrate my point, while we're recording this video today, I'm utilizing a C200. It has dual memory card slots. During the recording of this video, this 128GB card failed. Right today, while I was doing this. Now I admit, SD card failure is rare, but it does happen. And for me personally, it's the kind of risk that I'm just not willing to take in my business. If you want to do that in yours, by all means, go forth and conquer and do it. Because as great as the EOSR is in terms of its ability to take great pictures, color science, lenses, etc., the fact that it doesn't have 2 memory card slots for me is a deal breaker in a wedding. Now, as you know, I'm also a YouTuber, which means I do some vlogging. And the fact that this has a flippy screen, and I can do stuff like this, I think that's kind of a nice thing to have. And there's definitely a place for the EOSR in my business, specifically here on YouTube. And I love it for that. If I was a portrait photographer, I wouldn't have a problem using it either, because again, if a shot fails in the middle of a portrait session, you're probably gonna be taking a few hundred shots anyway. You just swap out the card and just kind of recreate the scene, because you can recreate the scene. If you're an event or wedding photographer where you cannot recreate those moments, and if a memory card fails, I think you're putting your career at risk. And again, for me, it's just a risk that I personally am not willing to take. Well, there you have it. Those are my top 4 reasons why I took the plunge and bought the EOSR, along with 3 reasons why you might want to think twice before you take the plunge. So my question to you is, will you or won't you? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm Darren Miles with Darren Miles Photography, and I'm based here in beautiful, sunny Southwest Florida. If you like videos like this, go ahead and give me a like, or better yet, subscribe. And until the next time, happy shooting.